Good morning, Intenders.
Good morning.
Welcome back to Morning Intentions. Today is Thursday, November 6th. Thank you for joining us today. Thank you for joining us this week for our first week of What's Your Why? Moving from hustle to heart, because we're moving beyond hustle culture.
And thank you, Ada, for what you shared with us yesterday. I appreciated it so much, and all day yesterday when I had maybe an encounter or even a thought, and it was kind of taking me to a place that I didn't want to go. Maybe I was starting to feel sad or starting to feel angry. I'm really being helped by just thinking about those 5 primary emotions: mad, sad, glad, afraid, or embarrassed. But when I felt that whatever one come up, I thought of you sharing your experience of being upset for not receiving the thank you that you'd hoped to receive, and then asking yourself, what's my why? Why do I think I need that thank you? I did that all day yesterday. It was an amazing experience. I'm going to do it today too. I am. Because there's many reasons for how we feel, but I've been concentrating more on needs. And so I'm feeling this. What am I needing? What need is being met? What need is not being met? But to take it to, and what's my why? It's a great exercise. And I'm learning a lot. Already, we're 4 days in, and I'm really learning a lot.
I know my life has changed just 4 days from the start of this theme.
Doesn't it seem like it's been longer?
It seems like it's been a month.
It does.
A month worth of learning, maybe.
Yes, it does.
But not yet a month worth of fun. And I think what you're sharing is so valuable. Just like we want to know what we're feeling at any given moment. Like anytime we want to be able to say, okay, what am I feeling right here and right now? I'm feeling, and then fill in the blank. And Annette, you just listed out the 5 basic feelings. I'm going to repeat them just so everybody's aware: mad, sad, glad, afraid, and embarrassed. Now, you may go online and look up a list of feelings, and you're going to get a much larger list than that. And those lists are wonderful. But if you haven't done a lot of feelings work, or you don't have a large feelings vocabulary, just start with those 5 basic feelings. I encourage that to everyone I can. If you haven't done a lot of feelings work, you're not familiar with your feelings, it breaks it down and makes it a lot easier to understand. It's a lot simpler. And then, of course, you can always expand it out. Don't be like me, thinking that if you can't do the hardest version right away, there's something wrong with you.
Well, and I'm learning through our work and our conversations with our clients, and I always learn so much from our clients as well. Sometimes that long feelings,
It's overwhelming.
it is. That feelings list that we share based on nonviolent communication, it's wonderful. And when you're first starting to do this work, it can just be overwhelming.
It can. And so just like we want to know what we're feeling, we do want to be able to stop at any moment and know our why. Why are we doing what we're doing right now? And like I'm saying, like I said yesterday, wanting to thank you, that's not a good enough why. And maybe that's a little judgmental, but that's the experience.
Is it not a good enough why, or?
It's not a good enough why for being upset. It's not a good enough why for breaking my own peace, and probably other people's peace too.
Did you ever, though, stop? We didn't talk about this in the episode. Did you ever stop and think about the needs that weren't being met when you didn't receive the thank you? Like, you really want to have connection, and you want to be seen, and you want to be known.
Acknowledgement.
All of that.
A thank you is not a need. It's a strategy to meet a need.
Yes.
And we do want to know what's our why, and we do want to have a little bit of an evaluation, because we may look at our why and say, that's not a very good one, or it's not enough to keep this action going. And that's where we get to today's topic. We are continuing off what we learned with hustle culture. And part of what we learned with hustle culture was the never enough cycle. I'm going to give us a little tiny recap. The episodes, we try to label them and give them nice titles so they're easy to find. There is one titled The Never Enough Cycle from last month. You'll get more in depth if you go back and listen to that one. But for today, I'll just give a little tiny recap. So the never enough cycle, it's the reason we keep pushing ourselves. But then, of course, the reason that we have that why is never enough, and then we feel never enough. So the 5 ways that we can fall into the trap of the never enough cycle are: when we move the finish line, we get to a goal, we don't feel that sense of validation, that sense of joy that we think we're going to get. So then we move the goalpost, we move the finish line and say, well, maybe I didn't do enough, I have to keep going. The second way is when we're comparing ourselves to someone else, and that comparison becomes our fuel. We look at our lives, we look at someone else's life, and we say, okay, well, they have so much more than I do. They look happier. They look like their marriage is so much more fulfilling for them than mine is. What am I doing wrong here? Is it me? Should I be doing something more? And then that, of course, spirals out of control. Comparison is always a trap, so watch out for that one. The next way the never enough cycle shows up is when external validation becomes the scoreboard. Are we giving just to give, or are we giving in order to get? Are we going to work and having the job that we have because other people look well on us and they say, wow, that's a really cool job. I bet you make a lot of money, or I bet you help a lot of people. Of course, those are tiny examples, but there's always a way that we can look at and say, okay, how someone else reacts to us and treats us, if we're living for that and working for that, that's how we know we're in the never enough cycle. The fourth way is when self-criticism masquerades as motivation. Oh, I'm an expert in this one, that's for sure. It's when we say, oh, if I stop and rest and take a nap because I'm so tired. Oh, but that just means I'm lazy. Only lazy people take naps. This little voice inside of us that, as the name implies, we're never enough, and it's always critiquing and judging every little thing we do and poking and prodding and picking and letting us know that what we're doing is not enough. We need to do more. And the fifth and final way that the never enough cycle shows up is when achievement is without fulfillment. We achieve, we go and we do, but we still feel empty inside. We say, I thought that was going to fill me up. I thought that was going to complete me, fill that hole inside my heart. It just doesn't, because we're always proving that we're somebody rather than knowing that we have value just because we're alive. So the reason we wanted to get back to this never enough cycle is because when we don't know our why, we're going to fall into this trap of the never enough cycle. Because if we don't know our why, or it's not a good one, we're always going to look at something else to judge how we're doing or whether or not we're good enough.
Living from the outside in.
Absolutely.
As opposed to from the inside out. We are almost out of time for today, but what I want to ask you, and instead of doing a reflection tomorrow, let's dive deep into this never enough cycle and the what is your why, because I want to know what you mean by not a good why. So let's talk about that tomorrow.
Okay, I'm already looking forward to it. But for today, our intention is a reflection question. Now that it's been a few weeks since we first introduced the never enough cycle, how are you doing with it? Do you recognize when you're falling into those 5 different traps of feeling like you're never enough or what you're doing is never good enough? Reflect on that today, and as Annette said, we'll continue this conversation tomorrow. Thank you so much for joining us. Our day is better because you are part of our day. See you tomorrow.
See you then.